So I'm standing here in the rain, getting ready to final pack, but really this is just a beard check, but wanted to record a little bit of this. So this is kind of my hammock, all zipped up with nothing inside it but the hammock itself and the quilts, the top quilt inside and the under quilt inside the sock, but outside the hammock. One of the things I like to do is suspend a clothesline below the tarp but above the hammock, and as I start to put all my gear together and ready to pack, I hang it from the clothesline. So this is everything that's going inside my backpack, and then a few odds and ends still on the ground. So that's one of the ways I do it. It used to be a big, pile of gear on the ground, but especially when it's wet, it would get dirty and muddy, and I'd have to somehow clean them off as I load them. This way it keeps everything up off the ground for the most part. All right, finally got on the trail at about 10:15, which is not bad. I finally woke up at 7, but then it started raining again around 8, so I kind of slowed my morning roll and finally got out of there by 10:15 after a leisurely breakfast of coffee. So I just bumped into Ridge Runner Chelsea. We chatted for a little while. She was going the opposite direction and was just clearing a log from across the trail. She did say Lance Creek is very difficult. It's in a deep ravine again, similar to where I just stayed. And there's only 4, I think, tent sites. I should be okay in a hammock, but I also might consider pushing on an extra 2 miles or so to Girard Gap, which is a better camping spot and is where the bear restriction starts, but it's the last campsite where you're allowed to simply hang and not requiring a canister. So I may just do that because my schedule, I'll get to Lance Creek by 3 or 4. I stopped in at Girard Mountain Shelter about 40 minutes into my morning hike after I chatted with Chelsea, the trail runner. Trail runner? Is that what they are? Yes, Ridge Runner. And at the shelter, I met a few people. Turn 2, Moon, Tie-Dye, and a 4th guy whose name I don't recall, but he offered me some chai tea. They are all section hiking together. They all met on the trail in 21 and are out for a month-long section hike, if I got my story straight. So that was cool to meet people. The night before at Devil's Kitchen was kind of lonely. There were 2 other tents, but I saw 0 signs of life coming from either of them. Maybe a cough at one time, but no humans. Anyway, let me do this jacket thing and I'll keep hiking. Walking through this area here that has obviously been burned fairly recently too. Well, I don't know what that means, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of growth since the burn. We are about a mile, less than a mile from Woody Gap for point of reference. Stopped for water at this cute little spring and found my first hair tie of the trail. trail. Arrived at Woody Gap. Parking lots, stunning views. Usually motorcycles, but not today. Doesn't appear to be a good motorcycle kind of day. Here's a little flat spot in the trail for a walk and talk. We're on top of whatever the first mountain after Woody Gap is. And for some reason, Preacher's Rock is called Cedar Cliffs on Far Out. And there were several comments, including mine, saying, why is it not called Preacher's Rock on here? I believe the AWOL guide, definitely the USGS maps, maybe AWOL, used to call it Preacher's Rock. That's kind of what I've always known it as. Anyway, so my destination is Lance Creek Restoration Area. There's a limited number of tent sites there. Chelsea, the Ridge Runner, said it was probably going to be packed, but if I have a hammock, I should do okay. I can just find two trees anywhere, or I could push on to Gerard Gap. As it so happens, my girlfriend is camping at Vogel State Park, which is nearby, and with the intention of picking me up at Deals Gap tomorrow afternoon. So there's a little side trail just before Lance Creek that goes to the Dockery Lake trailhead, and she's going to pick me up there, and we're going to camp at Vogel tonight and drop me off there again in the morning to go to Deals Gap. So that was a pleasant turn of events. This section of trail is quite gorgeous. Although we have no views, the fog has a mood of its own. I'm just waiting for this thing to start walking. Because I know it does. When I'm not looking, it takes a step. After watching the video I shot last night, the last segment, I didn't want to go off leaving the impression that I'm not having a wonderful time. I was just, tired and cranky last night, but sometimes that's how it is. No, I'm beyond joy. A plant-based joy alternative. No, but I'm definitely having the time of my life. Weather notwithstanding, it's been wonderful. And I think what makes it the most fun is meeting the people who are doing the same thing. So, treacherous stairs. Pause while I concentrate. I don't know, I'm sure I'll elaborate on that more later. But sometimes my joy doesn't show through on my face as much as I'm feeling it. So, hey, I'm having a great time. All right, I got to do this. I don't know if you can see that, so I'm going to put the camera away. So this was also suggested as an alternate location to alleviate crowding at Lance Creek. And this is like half a mile before Lance Creek and it's already this crowded. This is where I take my left on the side trail. Well, I just popped out of the woods. The Dockery Lake Trail ends and the Miller Gap Road begins. I'm back in civilization and paved roads, so I'm waiting on my ride.